Commander Zara Chen stood before the Galactic Council's emergency assembly, her weathered face bearing the scars of a war that had consumed 3 decades of her life. The vast amphitheater fell silent as she approached the central podium. Representatives from dozens of species watching with a mixture of fear and fascination. "You want to know what happened to the Keth Mori," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber without amplification. "You want to understand how an entire civilization simply disappeared." The Altarian delegate, his crystalline form shimmering, with nervous energy, leaned forward. "Commander Chen, the Keth Mori Empire controlled 17 star systems. They possessed technology centuries ahead of most species. Their fleet numbered in the thousands. How could they simply vanish?" Chen's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "You're asking the wrong question, Ambassador. You should be asking why we let them exist for as long as we did." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Keth Mori had been the galaxy's apex predators for millennia, a species that viewed other sentient beings as little more than amusing pets or convenient slaves. When humanity had first ventured beyond Earth's solar system, the Keth Mori had laughed at these strange bipeds. With their primitive chemical rockets and naive diplomatic overtures, that laughter had died 3 decades ago. "The Keth Mori made a fundamental error," Chen continued, her gaze sweeping across the assembled delegates. "They assumed that because we were younger, weaker, fewer in number, we were lesser. They treated the burning of New Geneva as a demonstration, a warning to keep us in our place." The holographic display above the podium activated, showing images that many in the chamber had seen before but hoped never to witness again. The colony world of New Geneva, humanity's first successful terraforming project, reduced to molten slag. 12 million humans, men, women, children, incinerated in the span of 6 hours. "They wanted to show us our place in their hierarchy," Chen said, her voice steady despite the horror on the screen. "They succeeded. They showed us exactly where we stood. And more importantly, they showed us where they stood." The Vrex ambassador, a tall insectoid being with multiple eyes, clicked his mandibles nervously. "But Commander, humanity's response was disproportionate. The total annihilation of an entire species?" Chen turned to face the Vrex directly. "Disproportionate? Let me tell you about proportionate responses, Ambassador. The Keth Mori had protocols for dealing with inferior species, complete subjugation or complete elimination. Those were the only options they recognized. We simply chose to speak their language." The holographic display shifted, showing new images. Human fleets, but not the ramshackle collection of converted mining vessels and civilian transports that had first encountered the Keth Mori. These were sleek, predatory shapes that seemed to bend light around their hulls. Ships that moved with impossible speed and struck with devastating precision. You see, the Keth Mori made another error. They assumed they knew what humanity was capable of. They based their assessments on our initial contact protocols, our peace offerings, our attempts at diplomacy. They saw weakness where they should have seen restraint. Admiral Thane, Chen's former second-in-command, stepped forward from the human delegation. His cybernetic eye glowed softly as he accessed his neural interface. "The Keth Mori had superior technology," he said, his voice carrying the mechanical undertone of someone who had replaced most of his organic parts during the war. "But they had never faced an adaptive enemy. They expected us to fight like them, honor duels between massive fleets, predetermined battlefields, agreed-upon rules of engagement." Chen nodded. "We didn't fight like them. We fought like humans. We fought like a species that had clawed its way up from the bottom of the food chain, not through superior strength or advanced technology, but through cunning, persistence, and an absolute refusal to accept defeat. The display changed again. Now it showed surveillance footage from Keth Mori worlds, humans moving through their cities not as conquerors, but as shadows. Engineers and scientists working alongside human. Commandos learning, adapting, incorporating Keth Mori technology into their own systems. We studied them, Chen explained. For 3 decades, we learned everything there was to know about their society, their technology, their psychology. We became experts in what made them tick, and then we used that knowledge to unmake them. The Zalandi representative, her ethereal form flickering with distress, spoke up. But surely there were civilians, non-combatants, children. Chen's expression hardened. The Keth Mori recognized no such distinctions when they glassed New Geneva. Their entire society was built on the premise that might makes right, that the strong had not just the right but the obligation to destroy the weak. We simply proved that we were stronger. How? The question came from multiple delegates simultaneously. Chen looked up at the display one final time. It now showed the last transmission from the Keth Mori home world, a brief, terrified message in their clicking, chittering language before the signal cut to static. We gave them a choice, she said simply. We told them they could dismantle their empire, free their slaves, and retire to a single world under galactic supervision. Or they could face the consequences of their actions. They chose to fight. And then we showed them what happens when you threaten human children. Chen's voice carried a finality that made several delegates step back. We didn't just defeat their fleets. We didn't just occupy their worlds. We erased their existence so completely that archaeologists will struggle to prove they ever existed at all. Their language, their culture, their history, gone. We left. No monuments, no museums, no records. The Keth Mori chose to be remembered as the species that burned New Geneva. We chose to ensure they wouldn't be remembered at all. The chamber erupted in noise, gasps, clicks, harmonics, and whistles of shock and fear from dozens of species. Chen waited for the chaos to die down before speaking again. You called this assembly because you're afraid, she said, her voice cutting through the noise. You want to know if humanity represents a threat to galactic peace. The answer is simple. We are exactly as dangerous as you make us. The Keth Mori made us their enemy. They paid the price for that choice. She turned to leave, then paused at the edge of the podium. We prefer to be friends, she said without looking back. But that choice, as always, is yours to make. As Commander Chen walked away, the chamber remained silent, except for the soft hum of environmental systems. Above them, the holographic display flickered once and went dark, leaving the assembled delegates to contemplate the lesson they had just received. Humanity had taken its revenge. And somewhere in the galaxy, in the spaces between stars where the Keth Mori Empire had once cast its shadow, there was only empty space and the fading echo of a species that had learned too late that some sleeping giants should never be awakened.